And he fled the area because it was making strange squeaks and squawks, and he couldn't get back to the station via the radio, and he felt too alone. So he left. But so we have UFO sighting, the sighting of the creature near the UFO. We have animal mutilations, and we have electronic disruptions. We have the strange character Indrid Cole, who's flying around in what looks like the glass lampshade of an oil lamp, but it's glowing. And I mean, that was the shape of it. It wasn't transparent like an oil lampshade. But so there seems to be a very strong correlation with UFOs there. So I'm inclined to think it is either something like that or it's a trans-dimensional being. I don't think it's a native cryptid of Earth itself. I don't think it's like, say, a Bigfoot or an animal like that, chupacabra or something. I think it's either alien or it's trans-dimensional because it's defying the laws of physics.
It is. Now, we need to go on break here in about 1 minute, so if you want to get a cup of jabba, a cup of tea or whatever, relax. We'll be back about 4 minutes after the top of the hour. Top of the hour, James Krischbaum is going to give us the paranormal Earth news, trucker news, so stay tuned. We're going to be back with Rob talking about Mothman. And by the way, you need to go on to Amazon, check out his books. You need to check out the one is the, Mysteries of Mothman while you're checking out all his books. We'll be back in about a flash or two.
Scintillas in the stream, hoping for what's true. I'm trawling for honor in this shallow pool. Borealis starlit crown arches over the Puget Sound. His hair drapes the horizon to Where is my lucky star tonight? The seventh sister of the Pleiades walks in beauty like the night. Oh, that is best, dark and now lost to me.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Night Dreams Talk Radio Network brings you the World Paranormal News with James Krischbaum. Now, the latest news.
This is Night Dreams Talk Radio Network News. I'm James Krischbaum, and here's a possible Chicago Mothman recently has been observed in Rosemont, Illinois. Here's the witness statement. I was sitting in my car waiting my next Uber Lyft call. I was parked on the side of the road near Toll Booth Plaza 31. It is a spot many drivers share. Drivers like to park to be close to the O'Hare terminals, which allows us to pick up rides from the airport. As I was sitting there, filling around in my car, I saw something walk out of the woods, tree line. It was a tall creature about 6 to 7 feet tall and kind of hunched over. It walked with sort of a gait, like almost a waddle. It was completely black. When it swiveled its head, I saw two bright red eyes glowing. this thing opened a pair of large wings as wide as it was tall and began to flap them. It took off and headed to the south toward the large indoor driving range and the baseball park. It was gone in just a few seconds. Also, here's a report of a Bigfoot from a lady. She was letting her dogs out late at night, and it goes like this. About 50 feet from our back door was a large, hairy man-like being. The dog saw it as well and came running back into the house very quickly. I stood still on the stairs watching it. I think I was in shock by what I saw. The animal then turned and looked right at me and let out this scream holler. It was the most frightening thing I have ever encountered. The yell struck every nerve in my body. I was so scared that it instantly made me cry. I felt like I was getting this fight or flight response. Never have I been this scared in the woods. We get to see many different animals here in the Montana, but nothing like this. The animal was about 7 to 8 foot tall and had brownish black hair covering its body. The hair was probably about 4 to 6 inches long. I would guess that it had a weight of around 500 plus pounds. When it let out that yell, though, that scream at me, I got the feeling that it was angry that I saw it. And the face was like that of an ape, but with very, very human features. Drug lords' hippos make their mark on the foreign ecosystem. Now, a study on the impacts of the world's largest invasive animal in Colombia provides key insight into the future of a growing population. Now, when Escobar's empire crashed, the exotic animals housed in his family's zoo, including rhinos, giraffes, and zebras, were safely relocated to new homes, except for the hippos. With no safe and practical way to remove the animals, the original population of 4 hippos has since ballooned to more than 80. Now, the study revealed that the hippos are changing the area's water quality by importing large amounts of nutrients and organic material from the surrounding landscape. Since the nocturnal animals feed on land most of the night and spend their days cooling off in the water, their large inputs of waste and are altering the chemistry and oxygen of many lakes. A UFO, or America's newest stealth plane. Iran just saw something fly by at Mach 10. Now, key point here is it's unlikely that the new UAV is capable of Mach 10 hypersonic flight. The Pentagon is still struggling to reach Mach 5. The Iranians believe the objects were spy drones belonging to the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency sent to sniff out Tehran's suspected atomic weapons program. But they attribute to these alleged unmanned aerial vehicles flight characteristics and capabilities far beyond what any known drone can achieve. Who was responsible for the Devil's Trail? Researchers have shed new light on the trail of fossil footprints found along the side of an extinct volcano. For centuries, the local people have attributed these prints to a demon or devil. But in more recent years, scientists have begun to shed light on which species of hominid may have been responsible. Now, according to a new paper, the most likely candidate would have been Neanderthals, not modern humans, and they were climbing up the volcano and not down. At least 5 individuals made the ascent, although it is not clear why they should have been going up there, especially since the volcano must have erupted shortly beforehand. When fresh, the material that preserved the prints would have been a searing 300 degrees Celsius, meaning that they must have at least waited a while before attempting the climb. Next news break tomorrow night.
Coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
Just waiting for that storm to go by. I tell you, I can't stand that thunder every night on the show. James, real quick question for you. Going Mach 10. Now, you remember what Bruce Maccabee said.
Yeah.
Anything past like Mach 4, Mach 5, you're going to be scraping whoever's in the craft, off the walls. They'll be liquefied gel. So I don't know. I don't think it's a manned flight from our country.
No, you're exactly right. That is what Bruce said. Well, the physics says that anyway. Anything over about Mach 5, we can't do unless you got some kind of inboard technology that totally cancels that out, which, that's, if you've got that, you're going to be doing way more than Mach 10 or whatever anyway. You're way far advanced. But yeah, it's definitely, I don't think it's ours.
Well, I don't know. To go that fast over that country in Mach 10, I mean, you'd be, gone before you could light a cigarette. Anyway, Rob, are you still with us?
I sure am.
Yeah. I got to ask you a question. Is a Mothman a curse to mankind?
Well, that's what I was trying to figure out with my book. I always try to find answers. Your news report was mentioning a sighting in Chicago, near Chicago. Those sightings became very big around 2011, and they peaked around 2017, but they're still seeing it to a smaller degree, but still seeing it. And oddly enough, one of the characters, one of the people involved in the prophecies, the book, and the Mothman prophecies, that the author, Keel, wanted to interview, lived in the Chicago area, and he kept a very low profile. And they had at first he refused to see him, and finally he agreed, and it was a very clandestine meeting. And he asked why. He said, the reason is once they become aware of you, that you're aware of them, they don't leave you alone. And so he was just keeping as quiet and out of sight as possible so that they wouldn't notice him. And he, too, had experienced the torments of injured cold. So there is that about the Chicago area. And it was interesting because when your news broadcast there, news break, mentioned Chicago, I thought, well, this has been going on in Chicago for almost a decade now.
Yeah, it has. One thing, a crow. If you have crows around it, and let's say you killed a crow, they're going to rebel against you. They're going to harass you for several days. They're not going to go anywhere. Every time you go out, they're going to be there just making noise and letting you know that whatever you did wasn't right to them. Mothman, for example, is if you get in a situation where you see them, are you marked with them? Were they going to continue harassing you?
Well, it would seem to be the one in particular that noticed you, or you noticed you noticing it. By the way, do you know what they call a flock of crows?
No, go ahead.
A murder of crows. Isn't that odd? Well, you mentioned killing a crow, and they refer to it as a murder of crows.
I can honestly say that years ago, like about 18 years ago, one of my children, and he was a kid at that age, with his BB gun, shot and killed a crow. Now, we had like only 3-4 crows on our property, and they were annoying. He killed one of them. I swear to God, the next day there was like about 50 of them. And then, like the day after, there was like about 100 crows all over our cedar. We have almost 2 acres of cedar trees. They were everywhere. And anytime you went out, they started squawking. It was crazy.
It sounds like a line or a scene from the movie The Birds by Alfred Hitchcock.
It did. And then, a few days later, they were gone. But it seemed like whatever they communicate to each other that, well, we did something to one of them, and they were letting us know that they weren't happy.
Well, it's funny you should mention crows again, because I had just read an article this last week about them, that they're exceedingly bright, much brighter than people had thought, and that they interact on a much higher level than we realized, and they could with people, too. That they actually bring people gifts and that sort of thing on occasion. And so I could see where if you murdered one of them, they have the intellectual, some birds are quite bright, that they could have the intellectual capacity to resent what you did. Personally, I would leave them alone. I don't want to have a murder of crows because I murdered a crow stalking me.
No, I tell you,